1 in 3 women, they estimate, will be abused in their lifetime. And sexual abuse in children under the age of 18, 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys. So it is universal. It is happening all over the world, everywhere. It doesn't matter about religion, race, economic status. It happens everywhere. This is going to be focused on healing relationships. I want everybody, there's a sheet in front of you. It says, I want you to write in this, what do you think is a healthy relationship? You know, we all want hearts and flowers, right? I mean, that's really what the dream, the romance. But I want you to write down what you really think. There's a few questions here. What is your definition of a relationship? What is something you want or deserve in a relationship? What is the one thing that someone else wants from you in a relationship? What is your role in a relationship? And qualities of healthy relationships. It's something that we don't talk about often enough. So if somebody would give me their definition of a relationship, mutually beneficial, okay. Be yourself, authentic, okay. Respect, voice, great. Let's just talk about what is healthy. What do you think is healthy? I mean, we started, it's a great list here, we're starting. Respect, right? How about having fun together? Is that something you might want? Hey, why not? Spending time, I mean, we're always into the really hard issues, but maybe part of a healthy relationship is having some fun. Respect is a huge piece of this. We all want respect. We want our opinions respected, our persons respected. Maybe some of the things we have to think about are solving conflicts together. It's working together. We don't talk about that enough. This is all part of my healing process. So, what do you see when you see this? Let's talk about a little bit about emotional abuse. I think that's really what I think we can relate to when you look at this picture. Is what is an emotional abuse? What is it? Do you have an idea? Did anybody ever tell you you can't do something?
Oh, yeah.
Did anybody say you're stupid, you're ugly, you're fat, who would want you?
Yeah.
You know, those are the things that every day someone in the world says to you. You know, to a young man, they may say, don't cry. To a little girl, oh, you can't be that. Those are all pieces of that start eroding your self-esteem. What do you lose about yourself when you're abused? It could be your virginity. It could be your relationships. What about your parents? They didn't they didn't protect you if it was that, or if a parent did abuse you. You know, security, boundaries, trust, personal space, partners, if it was your partner who abused you. So I think that there are so many losses, you know, that we have to talk about then. Why do you stay in an abusive relationship? Fear, they don't like to be alone. How about guilt and shame? Those are all big things. We all, you know, you're embarrassed to tell your friends, you're embarrassed to tell your family, or if, let's say, you left once and you go back, then you're afraid again. So, you know, we have to educate people about this so that they understand. So when somebody is in an abusive relationship, that we're there to listen, send them to the appropriate resources. We need to educate ourselves about this. Now we get to one of my interesting topics. So, does anybody see what this is? A gun. Violence. Survivors of sexual violence are 3 times more likely to suffer from depression, 6 times more likely to suffer PTSD, 13 times more likely to abuse alcohol, 26 times more likely to use drugs, and 18 times more likely to have body image problems and eating disorders, and 4 times more likely to contemplate suicide. So we are a society of wounded people walking around, and we have to learn to treat all of us, ourselves included, with compassion. We have to respect our journeys. Each of us is going to have an individual journey. I felt for me that I had to make a choice to heal. It wasn't just automatic. There were days, I mean, at one point in my life, I could barely get out of bed for 6 months. I got up, I got dressed, sometimes, and I'd get my kids off to school, brush my teeth, and crawl back in bed until they got home. And that's what I did for 6 months. And I said, I can't live like this anymore. I need to do something different. And so part of it, like I said, was writing, journaling, but it was as simple as writing, I'm grateful. I am grateful for this, 3 gratefuls a day. And that started to be part of my change. But again, for me, healing is a choice. And some people choose to stay because it's comfortable, because it's familiar, and they don't want to make the difficult choices. And each day, it's a difficult choice that we want to live. One of my things personally is I like to talk about forgiveness because I think that's part of the healing process. And I believe forgiveness is in 3 stages. You have to forgive yourself first for whatever happened, because we all blame ourselves on some level. And then I felt I had to forgive my family because they didn't protect me. And then I forgave my grandfather. But that's a personal choice. That is not everybody's, because a lot of people are re-victimized by that situation. They don't want to have any contact. Okay, so we're going to just move on to this piece. Now, I call this painting keening. Does everybody know what the word keening means? It's in Irish tradition that you wail at somebody's death, okay? That you allow this emotion to just pour out of you. Let me tell you about this painting. When I actually finally got into therapy, and the first time I was already 21. I had dropped out of my senior year of college. So let me tell you, my parents were not real happy. But I knew I was in trouble at that point. I was writing death poetry and acting manic and depressive and jumping up and down on tables and bars and then hiding in my room. The silence that I kept buried in me for so long, I couldn't keep it anymore. So this painting was one of those results. It was the first time that I painted what I was really feeling. But it scared me so much, this pain for me and the anger and everything I saw in there, that I ran away. I didn't paint for 12 years. It was pretty amazing, and this was such a huge piece of my life. But the fear of all this emotion coming up, was very scary, and that's part of the healing process. It has to come up. What I'd like to talk about is, what can you do, a creative way to let go of anger? Whether it's stomp it out, yell, exercise, dance, listen to music. How about breaking a plate and making a mosaic out of it? So you take something and you make it something else. Clay. One of my favorite activities that I do with people is we get a big vat of clay and we pound it and we hit it and so it feels really good, and you're just using your fingers and you're allowing yourself to be like that. And then we make a volcano. And you put a baking soda and vinegar in it, and then it'll explode. So here's this metaphor for allowing yourself to explode, but in a safe environment. It's something you can do at home by yourself, or in a group. It's a lot of fun when you're all doing it. You've got to make a list. Be as creative as you can. Make a list of quiet things that you can do, reflective things, active things, and have that handy. So when you get angry, you have alternatives. So instead of turning it in on yourself and cutting and attempting suicide or eating, because I am big into the eating when I've done that too. I'm afraid of anger. We're all afraid of anger. And I think that's part of the healing process, is owning your emotions and saying it's okay. This I call the door of truth. I had to find my own truth. I had to walk through the door, and let me tell you, it was difficult and painful, but every step of the way, I had to go through that door. I had to leave the pain here and make baby steps. It wasn't always just like I didn't run through that door and swing it right open, but I had to go through my steps to heal. I'm just going to show you what I call create. I chose to heal. I respond with compassion, and I respect my journey and everyone else's journey. I envisioned the life I wanted, and there's lots of ways to do that, whether it's through dream boards and some wonderful fun things that we do. And I acted as if. That was a big piece of my healing. Act as if. Now, that comes from 12-step work. You pretend until you make it. It's like, okay, I could act normal, sane. I can believe I care about myself enough to take care of myself. Then taking action. I think taking action is a huge piece, whether it's for your personal growth or for personal peace or global peace. And then enjoy a life of purpose. So as you were just saying, it's about purpose. So I want you to think about, what steps have you taken over your lifetime, where you've walked through the door, where you've been courageous. We are going to do a little bit of an activity here. On the table are little cards here. Everybody take one. Write on the card one thing that makes you special. One thing that makes you special. It can be anything, because I want you to go away feeling really good about yourself. One thing that makes you feel special. And when you've done that, then I want you to think about one time that you've exercised your courage muscle. One instance when you've been brave and you've walked through that door. And on the other side, I want you to write down one action step you're going to take to walk through your door today, because part of the healing is taking those action steps and not waiting till next week, next month, but but committing to do something today, to change your life, to make it better, to feel good about yourself. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's the mastery of fear. So I applaud everybody who's here today because you're all willing to talk about this and you're willing to go out there and listen and be a voice. And I think that's what we need to do. One person at a time will make that difference.